3 churches so far. Now the 13th Sabbath offering is going towards planting a 4th church in the city of Sejong, which is the new administrative capital of Korea. That's what they're trying to make it anyways, last I heard. His story begins in the late 2000s, and he had been reading the books of Daniel and Revelation, and reading them with great interest, and he realized when he read the book of Daniel that pretty much every prophecy had come true except the second coming. And he wondered, if what Noah would do if Noah were living at this point in time. And, Noah, regardless of his career, would probably dedicate his life towards the proclamation of the 3 angels' messages. Okay? And that's what he would do, and he would spend everything and do everything he could towards that end. And so he grew convinced, Mr. Kwan grew convinced that he needed to plant churches, and he prayed seriously about it. And one morning he felt very powerfully God say, just go. And a lot of times, God says that to people, just go. And the reaction is, well, Lord, there's so many people who actually have a degree for what you want me to do, and I don't. There are so many people that are, have every qualification for doing this, and I don't. So Kwan said, Lord, please show me what you want me to do from beginning to end. And now he thought that that was a reasonable request. But every morning, God's call to him was plain, just go. And it was so plain that it began to be painful to him. It's like the woman that we discussed, that we talked about earlier, who knew that she should be keeping the Sabbath. She started getting massive headaches because, as her daughter said, she was not doing what was right, and she knew it. Mr. Kwan did not really receive an answer to his question, to his plea to God, just show me what to do from beginning to end. He didn't really receive a concrete answer to that. Now, there's a very interesting quote from Ellen White on this topic. And he had been praying for 7 days, Lord, do you really want me to do this? And he picked up Compass Magazine. Now, Compass Magazine is a magazine put out by the KUC, the Korean Union Conference. And it is kind of like the Review. It's a little bit more of a, not business, but it details everything that's going on in Korea as far as the Gospel Commission goes. And he read this quote, and it was a quote from Live Sketches of Ellen G. White. And it says, God will have men who will venture anything and everything to save souls. Those who will not move until they can see every step of the way clearly before them will not be of advantage at this time to forward the truth of God. There must be workers now who will push ahead in the dark as well as the light, and who will hold up bravely under discouragements and disappointed hopes, and yet work on in faith with tears and patient hope, sowing beside all waters, trusting the Lord to bring the increase. God calls men of nerve, of hope, and of faith and endurance to the point. Now, it didn't say God calls men who know exactly what to do in the field that God is calling them in. And that harks back to the old phrase, God doesn't always call the qualified. Sometimes he qualifies the called. And God chose simple fishermen. The really educated person, and I'm not knocking educated people. That sounded bad, I'm sorry. Anyways, Judas was really the only truly educated person there. But if you look at Luke was a physician he was educated, but God was able to use him. And Paul was educated. God was able to use him. So it's more about our willingness to be used. And so when Mr. Kwan read this phrase, this passage that I just mentioned from the Ellen G. White book, he said, well, this is my answer from God. He didn't have to know everything he had to do. He just had to go. And it's like the former director of It Is Written, Sean Boosner, said, God isn't always waiting for, sometimes God is just waiting for your courage, you know? And Kwan said that he gave up on the idea that he had to know everything that he needed to do. He gave up on that, and he just went ahead with planting churches. And some people might say, well, that's not very well planned out. But really, God's doing the planning. We're just doing what he wants us to do. And Mr. Kwan said that he surprisingly did not have to do very much. That God did everything for him. And when God works, there are miracles.
Amen. Friend, if you want to say this, I talked to Pastor Rhino about him, and he knows him personally. He said that he has already planted 2 churches and he's a CPA.
Is this the one?
Oh.
No, not that. Oh, no, that one.
The next part of our program, we were originally supposed to do early this morning, but we are going to listen to 3 special features by Handel, Johannes, and Brian. So, first.
Handel, you first.
Oh, I can go first.
I'm sorry?
Am I going first or Handel? Oh, Handel.
Oh, you want to go first? Yeah, since you already have your slide up, just go ahead.
Well, good evening. It's kind of, I was not, oh, yeah, sorry. I'll just go here. I'm not supposed to be here, actually. I didn't know about this until 2 days ago. I was not planning to be here. I was going to be in Busan, actually, so it's kind of a miracle or providence I'm here. I talked to Salim and to Ian and different people like that, and they said, hey, there's a conference here, and I said, hey, I have a few ideas from China, might be helpful. So then JWA was very nice and very generous to let me say a couple of things here. So I've been in China also the last year, and I didn't plan to be there either. God sends us on many adventures in our lives, and I didn't plan to be in Korea for 23 years either. Okay, so I planned to be in Korea 9 months, so a lot of unplanned things in life have happened to me. But God leads and helps us to learn many useful things, and hopefully this will be a little useful to you. What I've learned from China recently here. Let's see, this needs to be actually standing quickly here. Okay. Okay, I don't need that sound there. Okay, hopefully the sound is okay there. Okay, so of course we know that God gave us a commission to go around the world to baptize nations and people in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and we are working, all of us, on this. And this weekend is talking about the journey to Rome and how the Christians went throughout the empire, winning souls. What do you think, though, right now? Are the numbers of Christians rising or falling?
Rising.
Rising.
In some places.
In some places. That's the perfect answer. Okay, how about SDA numbers?
Growing.
Growing.
In some places.
In some places. Okay, well, they have found that in the first generation, the Christians were 1 out of 360, and then going on by the time of 1989, Christians were 1 out of 7, and actually now, Christians are 1 out of 3 in the world.
Wow.
Okay, so it has grown a lot. There are some places, especially where there's lots of media propaganda, where Christianity does go down a little bit and comes back up, but that's where we are right now. Adventists in America are the fastest growing faith, so because of our health messages and different practical things like that. So we're growing 75% faster than Mormons, who many people think are growing a lot. So we're now at this level here, 1 out of 303 in America. We started at 1 out of 360,000, so we've grown a lot, but a lot more work to do also. This is a graph that's from a very solid research thing. It says the peak of atheism was actually in the 1970s. And actually it's going down and down now. A couple exceptions, but it says that atheists made up a whopping 4% of the population in 1970, 2% in 2010. It'll drop to 1.8% by 2020. So religion is getting more and more. By 2020, we should have 90% of the world being religious. So a lot of you don't always see it from the news, but Christianity is actually growing step by step. I like Dr. William Craig. He says that sometimes Christianity is compared to a wave where it goes forward, sometimes a little bit of regress, but then more forward, a little bit back sometimes because of deceptions and different reasons. But it keeps on going forward and forward more and more over time. Right now, our big challenge, of course, is the 1040 window. This is the area of the world where most of the people who are not reached yet are living. And I was just in China, of course, which is part of that. And there's another one here. We have 95% of people in these areas are not evangelized yet. And the sad thing is, I don't know if you can see it, but it says that only 0.0005% of the mission money is going to these areas right now. In Christianity overall. It's really abominable, actually, in terms of priorities. About 8% of missionaries are being sent to that area, where we need to send the most, and that's where the people we need to be talking about God the most are. There's one little short video here that's kind of interesting, just to show you a little bit about the expansion of the gospel here. Let's see this one right here. Which one is it? Spread. Where did it go now? It's not this one. This is a little bit, just a short video here. It shows you how Christianity spread, mostly from Israel and sort of in a westward direction. Most of Europe was Christian by that time. Some regress, Islam. Yeah. On the bottom here is the years, it's like 1500 AD there. Yeah. Down to the Americas. Down more. Interesting there anyway. Let's see. Now, these are some statistics about the areas that we need to evangelize there. One thing I was surprised about when I went to China was that I read a book called Jesus in Beijing, and it said that in the early 1900s, a lot of Chinese independently began having visions from God about how they should help in finishing the Great Commission. And it's like not just one, but like quite a few different people all over China were having visions that the Chinese would be the key agent to bring the gospel to the 1040 window, and they called it bring the gospel back to Jerusalem, like from China through the Middle East and through India, Middle East, and all the countries between China and Israel. Sometimes we think the West should be doing it directly, but actually China has a lot more people and a lot more proximity and a lot more logistically better and a whole lot of things there. So that seems to be the way that God is indicating a little bit. I'll just read one of them to you about that. This is James Hudson Taylor. He was forced to move to Western China because of the Japanese invasion, and he was president of this institute in Shanxi. Pastor Mark Ma was the vice president, and God told many Christians independently they should be evangelizing Gansu in north central China, and then Xinjiang, which is in western China. The name means New Dominion, and there's lots of Muslims in that area, and they speak many languages, families like that that are similar to the 1040 window. But he said he was praying and fasting on that day, and he was wondering, how can we finish God's commission and things like that? And God impressed him, saying, it is this, I not only want the Chinese church to assume responsibility for taking the gospel to Xinjiang, but also to complete the commission to preach the gospel to all the world. But Pastor Ma said, God, has not the gospel already been preached to all the world? The Lord told him, since the beginning of Pentecost, the gospel has spread mostly in a westward direction, from Jerusalem to Antioch to Europe, America, then to the east, southeast of China to the northwest. And so there's now you may go westward from Gansu, preaching the gospel all the way back to Jerusalem, causing the light of the gospel to complete the circle around this dark world. And this is the message that many Chinese received from God. Pastor Mark said, he said, oh Lord, who are we that we can carry out such a great responsibility? God said, I want to manifest my power through those who of themselves have no power. Pastor Mark Ma said, that section is Muslim, and the Islamic people are the hardest people to reach with the gospel. And God answered, no, the most rebellious people are the Israelites, my people. The hardest people of labor is my own people, the Jews. Even you Chinese, yourself included, are hard enough, but you have been conquered by the gospel. I have kept a part of the inheritance for the Chinese church. Otherwise, when I return, will you not be so poor? And so Mark Ma said, this is God's will. He'll give us power. We have to do God's way. And right now, the Chinese churches are, in the last few years, they've been trying and planning to train 1 million missionaries by 2055. Within a couple decades here, they want to train 1 million missionaries to go to the 1040 window and take the gospel there. And that is increasing the missionary number by almost 10 times, at least Protestant. We have right now about 160,000 Protestant missionaries in the world, so maybe 8 or 9 times. They want to increase the number of missionaries to take the gospel to that area by the 2050s. And so that a lot of them have had that vision, and a bunch of miracles I cannot share with you right now, but it seems like that's a very effective way to work in that direction. In 1948, there was only 1 million Chinese believers. In 2017, depends on research. It's really hard to do research in China. There's between 100 and 245 million Chinese Christians in China. And they are, right now, they're growing by about 10,000 believers every day. About 10% per year increase in believers in China right now. And so that's one of the greatest chances we have to finish the commission in the history of the world because of this reason and also technology and many other reasons. And so they may be, if they're not already, they are going to be within 5 years the nation with the most Christians on the planet. Okay? So God has been doing a work in China under communism when many foreigners were not able to be there. And the question though is, which kind of Christianity is it going to be? Is it going to be the three self-humanistic Christianity of the government? Is it going to be a corrupt Protestant Christianity from America? I don't know if you know this, but in America, only 4 to 10% of Americans have a basic biblical worldview. In just 8 questions like, do you believe Jesus resurrected? Was Jesus born of a virgin? Is God the creator? Is the Bible reliable? Just 4 to 10% of Americans have that kind of basic questions answering yes. Only 50% of pastors have that answer. So the humanistic one, or the corrupt Christianity in America, or is it SDA? Those 3 issues. We have the big chance right now to make this change in China. So This is my friend. I was in China last year. This is my friend, Pastor Jung Namun. Maybe a couple of you know him. He was in Mongolia. Then we worked in making a school and helping people to know about God here in China. This was a school of Vision English that we started there. Some of our students in the classes, and I'll go there. This guy actually on the left side, he was baptized, and he's now actually studying here in Samyuk. You may know him, Luke.
I knew him.
You know him, yeah?
He's your friend?
Yeah.
Yoga.
Yeah, I baptized him with Pastor Jung, and so he can right there. So it's very good. That's actually his baptism there, and a very nice, beautiful lake. And also right next to it, there's a really wonderful place to jump off cliffs. Which I do, so you get baptized and you jump off cliff. Wonderful Sabbath. There's another guy here, Jennifer, and another one, Sengil. He was helping us in the school as well.
That's you on the left?
What?
That's you on the left?
Yeah, that's me on the left there, yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah, and this is our another guy who was baptized about 2 months ago. And he is wanting to be studying in State University, either as pastor or English missionary or something. We're looking at how we can do that soon. And this is the other missionary with me there also. And we have the baptism of him as well. I also was part of a baptism where they had 30 people being baptized by local churches in the area. And it was a very interesting service. And but they also, when we were baptizing, some policemen came around while the pastor was speaking, and I was wondering what's going to happen, and because you're not supposed to do this kind of thing, and these are house churches which are not registered, and luckily the guy just looked around and then moved off, but we were a little worried about that.
We thought everyone was going swimming or something.
Well, he came when the pastor was preaching in Chinese, so he knew what was happening, and it was, maybe he made a report, I don't know what happened, but anyway, it was, this is a local house church in Xinjiang, where I was, and this is another church there, house church, some choir singers there. This is in the same church also. This is a very interesting hymn books in Chinese. These are the hymn books, how they read music and things like that. It's a very different way than we do, but that's their hymn books. And another one there. They have numbers for notes. And this one here means like an octave lower. If you put dot on top, it means an octave higher. So it's a very different way of music like
Where were
that.
they when we were
Actually, in actual Western music, they use numbers for figured bass.
Yeah.
But this does not look like figured bass.
Yeah. Yeah, so, anyway, there we go. So, what is the last part here? What's the most valuable organization on earth? What's the most valuable organization on earth? The church, yes. God's church. And that's not just from the Bible, it's also from science more and more these days. Ellen White tells us we need to not just talk about the Bible, we need to combine it with advanced science as well, and other things also to make it more effective. And we're doing good, but we need to do a lot faster in converting people to God's message. And there's many ways we can do that. Just a couple ideas here. This is my favorite verse in the Bible. It says, physical training is good, but training for godliness is much better. It has benefits in this life and for heaven. Very important, both ways. It's the most valuable thing we can do on the planet. Someone here mentioned before that what God says seems to be very foolish sometimes, but it's very wise. And Psalm 97 says God gives a wisdom to make the simple people wise. If He makes simple people wise, God has to speak how? If God says the simple people will become what? He has to start with simple things, okay? And if it's simple, that way many people can understand it and accept it. So it has to be simple. It cannot be the Ivy League, stuff like that. I mean, I was a professor for many years, but you have to make it simple.
Five grade level.
Yes, right, okay. And it's interesting, many other people say the same thing. Steve Jobs, concepts that are simple. That's the highest genius. Okay? Steve Jobs says it, Richard Branson says it, Einstein said it, Da Vinci said it, they all said the same basic thing, that simple wisdom is the highest genius. And that's what God has given us all over the Bible in many areas. Just a few areas. Also Confucius, he said, life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. Okay? And that's very, very true. Okay? So question here. These are 7 simple areas where God has given the best wisdom for us to share with the world. Number 1, what kills the most people of all these things here?
We know that.
Okay, most of you know that?
A,
What?
A,
A?
E.
E, yes. Okay, that's number 1. What's number 2?
Wait, what was A? What's G?
Number 1. E is number 1. What?
E is number 1.
Bad health habits kill like 40 million people every year. And what's number 2?
Heart attacks and strokes and
F.
whatnot.
A? No. F? F is right. 18 million people die from poverty every year. What's number 3?
War.
No.
Confusion.
Pollution.
Yes.
Very good. That's number 3. Pollution is the 4th biggest killer. 12 million people die a year. 1 million every year in China alone. Okay? All kinds of pollution. Okay? So I sometimes show this picture here. This is my grandpa. He's 105, and he was playing basketball till his 80s, and it's very helpful to convince students about the benefits.
Water skis or something?
Yeah, this is the water skiing guy from Blue Zones.
Yeah, that's what I
like
told
that.
you.
And these guys are atheists. This guy's an atheist Christian, and he was this is the Marlboro cowboy. He died at 51. Okay, so a lot of things there. I show them the difference between being atheist and believing in God with this kind of picture. There's videos like that also. But these are the ideas here. Very simply, bad health habits kill 41 million people a year. These are from United Nations studies. And avoiding smoking, alcohol, exercise, and healthy food stops over 80% of these deaths. So basically, New Start can stop about 35 million deaths per year. Okay. We have the best answers in these areas. Poverty, if you follow bioeconomics, land rights, gardening, that saves trillions of dollars and also a lot of deaths also. Bad air, if you're a vegetarian, that is really, really one of the best ways to reduce pollution because meat eating causes you to cut down forests and has all kinds of dung and water pollution. It's the biggest cause of many kinds of pollution there. So all these things we have really important principles that are very useful for solving the world's problems here. That's just saying the cost of deaths and cost of the bad disease will be $47 trillion within a few years. This is about marriage. Dr. John Gottman says that the simple way to have a good marriage is to say yes to your partner about 87% of the time. Okay? If you do that,
That's my marriage, I was in cash.
what? If the simple way to have a good marriage is to say yes to your partner's needs about 87% of the time. What does Ephesians 5 say? Submit to each other, mutual submission. Okay, that's the very simple key secret there. Okay, this is about gratitude. Just saying thank you and being grateful to people has about 30 benefits according to atheist scientists. Okay. See, and Nobel Prizes, Christians have won about 86% of Nobel Prizes overall. Jews and Christians were benefiting the world the most in many areas. Let's see over there. Okay. Western education, secular education is mostly just thinking about memorizing and logic and a lot of the things like that. But the Jewish education is very, very comprehensive. And we have a problem in all over the world in Christian education, including SD education. Some of our books we're using are still secular. And we need to change them to be Bible-based. Ellen White says again and again and again, make all of your subjects, all classes, based in the Bible. You can also have other science stuff as well, sometimes other experiences, but it should have a basis in the Bible, and we are not there yet. We have good at elementary level. My daughter's in high school now. The science and the English classes and the history classes are using secular books in all SC high schools in America right now. Okay? We need to use our influence to try to get people to change, and also our SDA books, language school books, are all secular.
Say it slower than the
Okay.
cameras.
What? Okay.
Say it slower than the cameras.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
We need to.
Okay, so we need to change our books and systems to be following Bible-based programs and not secular ones. Okay, very, very important. Okay. Next one here. When we do this, I have a whole book on this topic actually. When we follow Bible-based habits and things, New Start and going to church and different things, you can increase grades massively, 20, 30, 40, 50% if you follow New Start, you go to church, you grow gardens, you do different things. Science is showing that you have all sorts of benefits from going and doing things God's way. Greed is a huge issue right now. We have the top 100 people in the world who are richest. They could end poverty 7 times every year with the money they're making, but they don't want to. Greed is the biggest problem in the world right now because God said greed is the root of all evil. And it does cause pretty much everything that's evil in the world right now. Okay? This is just another chart showing how the rich are getting richer and richer, and it's getting worse and worse. And the Bible tells us we have these solutions to poverty in the Bible. There are many of them, actually. One of them is just every dollar that you put into churches, if it's a Bible-based church, you will get about $4 to $10 back in benefits for the community. Because churches reduce suicide, they reduce divorces, they reduce crimes, they reduce all kinds of social illness problems, they increase jobs, they reduce violence, there's so many benefits. And this is an atheist professor who has found this kind of result. The more Bible-based you are, the more benefits there are, okay? Planting gardens has like dozens of benefits, including stopping injustice, many things. This one right here is a forestry tree. This is an Ellen White grown method tree here. 20 times the volume. Study, learn about Ellen White's planting methods. Very, very important. And that's very huge. You can grow about 10 to 20 times more food. It's more delicious, nutritious. Look for Planting by the Blueprint. That's on the YouTube. You can find about that. This one right here just started a couple years ago. Okay, sorry, we're almost done here. Okay. This is Adventists for Social Justice. They're a new group that started about 2 years ago. They're trying to get SDA students and church members unified to work for economic and social justice around the world. One of the very important principles. They're on Facebook also. My professor here, he said that there's about 2,000 Bible verses on justice issues, and more than any other topic in the Bible except for idolatry, and that's also heavily connected to justice. And we don't teach about that much for it so far. We need to focus a lot more on justice, especially economic justice. These are some of the people there, and I'm also one of the leaders as well. We have a conference in November if you're in America, in Georgia. This is really key and crucial. Ellen White says, when those who profess the name of Christ shall practice the principles of the Golden Rule, the same power will attend the gospel as in apostolic times. Very crucial. What did the Bible talk about there? They testified of Jesus' resurrection. They met for worship, community eating. Everyone's needs were considered equal. They followed economic justice after providing for family needs. They shared truth, resources, money, time to help every family in the church get out of poverty. And they beat poverty. It says there was no poor person in the churches, and that's one of the big reasons why they turned the Roman world upside down, according to these scholars there. This is just a little graphic on so many things that churches are doing. On the average, churches will contribute about $2 million to the community in many ways there. So look at many things there. Oh, one thing there, the church, if you look at, it's very interesting, search for yourself, look for where the Sabbath is located in the Bible. Many places where Sabbath is, it's pointing to justice or the best solutions for our world right now. It points back to creation, it points to family, it points to economic justice, many, many things. And so looking for Sabbath all over the Bible, it shows us where the best solutions are for our lives today. And I'll stop there, okay? No, that's good? Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Are you planning to do it more than 10 or 5 minutes?
Okay, I don't know. We will interact, okay? Let's try to be more interactive. But I had actually prepared this talk for the morning as a form of motivation for people to go out, because I was intending to compare John chapter 3 with John chapter 4, Nicodemus and the Good Samaritan. And I think we can do that quickly, but the intention was to show people that the Good Samaritan actually was very responsive and immediately went back to the community to tell them about Jesus. And Jesus stayed with them for like 2 days, teaching them about the Bible, and many people were converted. Compared to Nicodemus, who was actually a Pharisee, we can compare the time. What time did they meet?
At night.
Nicodemus met Jesus at night. Why?
You scared.
He was scared, right? He was trying to hide. Yes, and the Samaritan woman met Jesus
In the daytime.
in the daytime. Why?
She didn't care.
She was also trying to avoid other people, right? Because most people went to the well either very early in the morning or very late in the evening. So, and what else? The names. The name of Nicodemus is mentioned in the Bible, right? The name is very important. How about the lady? What's her name? Nobody knows. Gender. Males generally, even today, they still enjoy a higher status in society or more benefits, right? And the other one was female. Most probably, yes, they did not have any rights compared to men. What else was different? The nationality?
Yes.
Yes, the other one was Jewish and the woman was Samaritan. What was their relationship? The Jews and the Samaritans, did they have good relations? No, they did not have good relations. We still have issues with racism and ethnicity and things like that, even today. Any other difference? One was from Jerusalem, right? And the lady, where was she from? Who knows? The place is called Sychar, which is very difficult to find, even by what you call the archaeologists today. So it's not that important. Any other difference? Who initiated the conversation?
Jesus.
With Nicodemus, who initiated the conversation?
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus initiated the conversation. With the Samaritan woman?
Jesus.
Jesus initiated. Any other difference? Okay. Social status? Social status? Nicodemus had a higher social status, right? He was a Pharisee, he was highly respected. How about the other one?
Samaritan.
She was considered what?
Samaritan.
She was rejected, despised and isolated, right? In society, she was considered a serial divorcee. I'm not sure whether she was a divorcee or maybe she was a widowed person, but we know that she had 5 husbands, and Jesus said, I know that you are right in your response. When Jesus said, who is your husband? And she said, I have none.
Elizabeth.
Jesus said, yes, you are right. You have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not even yours, right? And finally, yes, the response. The Nicodemus waited for how long? Up until Jesus was crucified, to actually come out openly and show his faith in Jesus. And the woman responded immediately, went back to her community, and many people were saved. And that's where I was trying to get at that in the morning, to try to encourage people to know that to participate in witnessing or in evangelism, we don't need to go to seminary to study theology. We just need to respond to the love of Jesus and then go back and talk about that. And I think that's what we can do even now. We don't need to be actually very knowledgeable about the Bible. We should try to do that and try to teach people about the Bible, but we can actually do our best at any moment in time based on our experience with Jesus. That's all. Thank you very much. Amen.
Wow,
You are very patient.
Amen.
Very quick to the point.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All
right. All right, well, that concludes our,
Bye, Mary.
Exactly 45 seconds.
I think I can tell you. Well, for the next 3 hours, I'd like to. Sorry.
Bye.
All right, well, I was hoping to give a short testimony. If I was supposed to tell a testimony, so I'm going to tell a little bit about my experience. Where to start? Many of you guys know that I'm kind of vegetarian or vegan. I don't like to be called vegan because I'm not. You know, I like honey. I like wear leather. Leather. You know. And I don't drink wine, so a lot of vegans like to drink wine. And I'm healthy because of the health message. That's something God's done for me. It's kind of showed me over time how to live healthy. Now the funny thing is, that's that was kind of a thing that's happened to me because I'm not gonna go and tell you the whole story right now. If you want to find out, you can ask me. But one specific situation that happened when I came to Korea was they had the bird flu. Remember the avian flu in like 2000 or 2000?
2009, they had the H1N1
Well, that was something else.
swine flu, yeah.
That's the swine flu, but I didn't even fix it. So. Anyway,
Yeah, I remember that.
so yeah, back in 2000 they had the avian flu. Now I was, speaking of flu, I was flying to Korea during that time. And I was already kind of, I had just come back from PUC, which was, I just dated myself, I'm sorry. Scratch that one. Yeah, I was going to the mission field for the first time, and I thought, wow, this is great. But they have an avian flu in Korea. Now I'm on the plane, and I ordered a chicken meal, so I've got this chicken in front of me. I'm thinking, is this from Korea or is this from America? And I just came from a school that was all vegetarian, so I'm thinking like, okay, this is my first chicken, probably my last chicken. And if it's from Korea, it may just be my last meal. I don't know. So I was thinking like, okay, so I prayed, I'm like, Lord, you want me to be a missionary, and you want me to go to Korea, and they have this bird thing, and maybe everything's tainted. Ellen G. White was right, you know, it's time to stop, and what am I doing here, you know? So I made a deal with him. I'm like, I'm gonna eat this, but then like for as long as I'm a missionary, I want to eat vegetarian. I'll as long as I'm working for you, I'll be a vegetarian. I figured I would be like 1 year in Korea, then go back and eat my chicken. You're laughing. I'm still here. Yeah. Anyway. It's not as funny as it sounds.
No, it's just the fact that laughter is infectious.
So, when I got to Korea, I went vegetarian. Now this is lacto-ovo-vegetarian, so you know I was able to eat, you know, eggs and
Dairy.
So I had my ice cream. I had my don't fail me now. I had my ice cream. I had my pizza. I had my chicken. Sorry.
Eggs.
Yeah, thank you. Eggs. So I had scrambled eggs. They actually knew me over at. Did you set a timer?
That's right.
Sorry. 48 seconds.
That was me.
Prophetic
That
seconds.
was not me.
TGI Fridays. They knew me. I'd walk in there like, hey, how you doing? The usual? Okay, scrambled eggs and broccoli cheese soup and those potato wedges that are really crispy. Soft on the inside.
So unhealthy vegetarian.
Exactly! That's my point. It was so unhealthy. They said, once they're like, why don't you just do eggs at home?
Salad.
I was like, because I want to eat here. You know, it's expensive. Okay, it's just like the servers are like, all right, whatever. It's your health, you know, your wallet. So after a while, I thought to myself, well, this is not such a good plan. And so I started thinking, how can I eat more vegetables and more fruit? Because I'm actually allergic to vegetables and fruit. I was allergic to apples, green apples,
Wow.
tomatoes, and mangoes, and bananas, and avocados, and...
What?
Oh my word.
You can look at me like, what kind of goodness are you? Like, I'm a sick one. Yeah. So I had all these allergies, and it was terrible because I couldn't eat all the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it was terrible. So I was like a duck who was allergic to down. You know, down like feathers. You know, quack, quack. Oh, I'm a rat. It was bad. So what could I do? What I did was I prayed. I prayed about it. And I took my lacto-ovo self, ran up to the top of my 22-story building,
Wow.
and while it was raining at night, and I screamed at the Lord on the top of my roof, why? Oh, I can't believe this. And I told them, I'm like a duck who's allergic to down. I told them that. I said, you know what? You've given me a burden I can't bear. Now, who agreed to be,
Missionary, yeah.
Missionary.
You were the one.
That was me. That was my fault. But it's like you've given me a burn I can't burn. Yeah, I kind of blamed him. I'm sorry. But I said, Lord, if it's not part of your plan for me to have these allergies, if it's not something that will increase my faith in you, that will drive me in the right direction, that will bring people to you, then if it's just something that the enemy is doing for me, take it away. If it's just the taunting of the enemy, or if it's just some weird chemical imbalance in my body, take it away. Let it go. I don't need it anymore, right? It's not written in stone. He hasn't commanded, thou shalt be allergic to waffles or, whatever, green things. No, Lord, no. Take it away, please. And you know what? I prayed and I fasted. Well, I was already kind of fasting in a way. Actually, I've tried this in a while. So, for me, I waited. And I was looking up at the sky, mixing with the tears, rain. And I got confirmation in my heart and my mind. God's like, Hendo, I hear you. Okay. I'm like, wait a second, are you saying like, okay, like I can go and eat stuff now? What are you talking about? You taking it away? So I said, I'll take it. I'll take that. I'll take that. And you know what? I trust you. Because I've always said I trusted you. So I trust you, Lord. What I'm going to go do right now, I'm going to go downstairs, and I am going to eat. I'm going to eat a banana, and I'm going to eat a mango, and it's going to be delicious. I'm going to love it. Yeah. And so I took that confirmation, and I went, it is! You're like, because you've never been allergic to anything. You eat fish, don't you? I was allergic to fish too, huh? Okay.
Don't worry, I have a friend who's terrified, not allergic, but terrified to bananas.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't eat gim.
Wow.
Huh? Not laughing now. What? Can't eat gim. No, Lord. Okay, I went downstairs. I ran downstairs. I was running. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna eat. I went down inside my room, and I was alone at the time. And I grabbed the banana. I'm looking up at the ceiling. Yeah. Holding it up and like, oh.
And
my lips started swelling up. I was like, it started itching. I was like, no! God healed me! And you know what happened? The itching sensation went away.
Amen.
For the last time.
Amen.
Gone. That's never happened again.
Mm.
It was a banana. I had a mango next.
What year was that?
You had mangoes just
That-
lying around?
Well, next to the apples. Anyway, I had them. I didn't live alone. I had other guys living there too. They liked mangoes and apples and bananas, so they were always there taunting me. You can't eat me. Anyway. It was torture, literally. So the thing is that I went down there and I ate, and it never happened to me again. The Lord healed me.
Amen.
Amen. Yes.
And I want to say that the Lord can heal you too.
Amen.
Yes.
And whenever you ask the Lord for something, be serious about it. I mean, I know I joke around a lot, but I'm saying when you ask God for something, you need to fast and you need to pray. And that doesn't just mean fasting from food. Fast from stuff that causes sin in your life, that causes you to be distracted from God, that causes you to have other thoughts. Could be television, could be movies. MCU universe is out there. You might have to put that aside and just be like, focus on God. Maybe your spouse is a distraction for you. You gotta be like, okay, not tonight, not for the week. I'm just gonna, fast. Maybe food is your thing. You guys gotta put that away. Certain type of food, maybe. It could be don't fast from work too long. But whatever it is that you need to fast from, you guys need to fast and pray.
Amen.
Not just pray like, amen. I mean, sit down, read your Bible, find verses that are relevant to your situation, and meditate on those, and meet God in prayer. Close your eyes and imagine Jesus is coming to meet me here, and have him be like, okay, what do you need? Right? Imagine that, and then connect with him. Present your case before him, and he'll answer you. Meet him in prayer, and don't be like, okay, good, thank you, and walk off. Wait for an answer. The Lord needs to talk to you. You have a lot to say, but he needs to actually connect with you too. And he's got stuff he wants to say too. Wait for that. Wait on the Lord.
Amen.
All right? That's what I got to say tonight.
Amen.
Amen.
And now we're going to have a word of prayer by somebody. Whoever I point at will pray. This guy.
Okay. Thank you very much to our presenters, Brian and Johannes and Handel. Coming up, I just want to give you a few announcements. If you wish to donate a sizable amount of money to JAERIM, those are what the envelopes are for. Yeah, whether you are compelled to give 1,001, or if the Lord moves you to give more, then feel free. The Lord will bless
Amen.
our ministry. And also, tomorrow, for those of you who want to feel physically challenged, or if you want to have a physical activity for the day, please join us tomorrow at 10 o'clock to, where are we going to meet? Sorry.
In front of theology.
In front of the theology building.
do 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock?
Is it gonna be at 10 a.m. or in the morning to join the Vietnamese group?
Guys, opportunity to reach people.
Yeah, there's an outreach opportunity because there's a group of Vietnamese people that are gonna be going to the mountain at 8 by the professor that joined us for outreach this afternoon. Now they're going to be having breakfast at 7:30 in the student cafeteria, and then at 8 they were planning to then leave. I know that for those of you that were complaining about the sun today, it might be actually better to do it at that time. But if you guys are still want to do it at 10, it's up to you guys. I'm just letting you know that the professor has opened up that opportunity for all of us to do it together, and it will be a way for us to do outreach to the Vietnamese. One of the energy white quotes is that people that come from heathen countries to places that are Christian-based are doing that so that they can get an experience, so that they can tell their own people about Jesus. So I'm just telling you guys about that in case you guys want to do it.
Okay. When do you wish to do it?
If we're gonna come at 8.
Okay. That's an option, but we are actually going to be doing it at 10.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we'll leave it up to you if you wish to join the Vietnamese, and then at 8 o'clock. However, the rest of us will leave at 10 and we should be finished by 1.
All right.
And then after that, we will finish with Jared. Okay, thank you for joining us, and let's have a word of prayer. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for being with us throughout this weekend. And Lord, we have done the best we can. And Lord, we are very thankful that you are able to come down and help us with this, and help us to that the seeds that we have planted this afternoon, may it flourish, and may those who have taken a tissue box or a tract, may they be moved by your Spirit, if it is your will. And Lord, be with us tonight as we go to our separate ways and rest, and be with us tomorrow as we hike. And Lord, may we continue to minister through Sabbath school, not just to this week, but in the future as well. Bless us and keep us to this day. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you. See the
If you guys want some tissue boxes, we have some boxes that are kind of damaged but still usable.
We're gonna take a picture. Everyone please come up. We're gonna take a picture.
You know you need one at home.
Let's take a picture. Please come up. We're gonna take a picture.
And the box is actually reusable. What you can do is you can put more tissues in there.
I have a bag.
Ryan, thank you so much for being here.
Really appreciate it. You did a great job.
Praise the Lord.
Well, that's the window, not
You know what we should do?
Michael, do you want to
pose
take
right
one?
in front.
No, I don't have any space.
We're gonna take a picture, please, come. Let's go.
I gotta ride the subway. Picture,
Take a
people,
picture.
Picture in the front.
Sajid.
on stage, get up here. You're
You
attending,
Leslie,
you're qualified. Get up here.
Let's take a picture so we can go home.
Oh, sure.
Excuse myself.
Picture!
This sounded nice. Where you go?